And we'll go ahead and start with the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm Kathy Cook, and I'm the Vice Chairman, and I will proceed over this board meeting tonight. And if I could have the board members introduce themselves.
Vince Pisano.
Jim Brown. Mark Meckes.
And we will go ahead and move into the first item, which is the building plan review. And this is a aesthetic board. We'll be looking at...
You want to do the action minutes first?
Oh, we do have the minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. If I could get an approval of the February action minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the February action minutes as submitted. A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So that's a unanimous approval. And this is an aesthetic board. We'll be looking at some courtesy items, which we don't make the decision, of course, for rezoning and variances. We will be looking at the aesthetics only. And if I could, go ahead and have come forward the building plan review, temporary trailer sales office for Crabapple Crossroads. And if you just state your name and address for the record when you come up, and just, I don't think you have to explain a lot. It looks pretty straightforward.
Brian Petrie, do you want the address of the actual, where the trailer's going? Or?
Sure.
707 Saybeck Way, Milton.
And it looks like the trailer that they're going to go ahead and put the skirting around the bottom. We've talked about that, and it's internal to the site. I don't really have any issues.
This is a temporary sales office, not a work trailer, not correct? Colors are shown on the rendering. Is that what we're doing? Okay.
Are there any board comments?
No.
If there's public comment, you can come forward now. I don't see any public comment. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the temporary sales trailer at Crabapple Crossroads.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that's a unanimous approval. Thank you very much. The next item on the review is a building plan review, and I believe this is our second time looking at this.
This is the second building.
This is the second building.
Yes, we'll approve the first.
Subject to changing and it looks like some of those have been requested changes.
I'm sorry. Michelle Horstmeyer from John Whelan Homes and Neighborhoods, and our corporate address is 4125 South Atlanta Road in Smyrna. So to backtrack, the last building we did make some adjustments to adhere to your criteria, ran those through Angela, and we are underway with that building. So this building, we submitted, this is what you all have, and then I included the floor plans. You all had asked to look at that last time. So these buildings, the two end units are brick and siding, and the middle unit would be all siding. They're the same floor plans that we looked at last time. Another building of the same master down plans. And then coming down the sides, the one that is siding has siding down the sides, and the one that's half brick and half siding, we continue with the brick down across the lower portion, and then siding in the top. So we adhere to they're 50-50 on that one. Those two, the front is 50-50 and the side is 50-50.
It's not shown on our picture, I don't think.
No.
It's not shown
They
the water
look-
table.
The black and white is better. I think it shows on the black and white.
Okay.
It's not really-
On the right elevation, it is hard to distinguish, and I'll have my artist a little better on that. The right elevation is the one that's
Actually,
brick.
it looks like I guess, Townhome 39, it shows all brick on the side. And then 37, it shows half siding, half brick.
Correct.
Okay,
39 is all
I thought you
brick.
said one of those was all siding on
The
the,
center unit is all siding?
but not the ends.
No.
Okay.
I misspoke because of the center is all siding. And then the backs are all brick.
All brick. And I
on
see
that
you
lower level.
alternated the design of the garages.
And then the composite white fences from last time.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to clarify, the way these things sit positionally, shown on your landscape plan or site plan LS 101, these are essentially impossible to perceive from the rear, is that correct? I mean, it's a gigantically steep hill behind it. Or does it fall away down?
It has that, their alley served, and then our property ends. Behind that, there is, and I'm
There's
sorry, I don't know the
there's a
name
bunch
the
of
church.
topography, I can't tell if it goes up or down.
It's fairly
It's down.
flat. These are on slabs.
Yeah, but the area behind the buildings.
It's fairly flat. It goes into the woods. It may possibly go uphill.
Oh,
1, 2, 3,
There's a
4, 5, 6,
church.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It goes up 20 feet or down 20 feet. Can't really tell. Woods, heavy woods behind it?
It's heavy woods. In the summer, you can't see the church. Right now, you can see a little bit of the church through the woods.
Okay. Thank you very much.
any other comments?
Blue show's better on the black and white.
Are there any public comments regarding this item? I don't see any public comments. Any other comments from the board? I think that they followed some of the requests that we had on the first set of town halls.
Is there anything you didn't follow of our comments?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. We talked about the garage doors. We talked about following the side elevations to match the material of the front, and then to do bricks across the rear. So all the backs will be brick. There's not much there with those big garage doors. Except the garage doors will all be carriage doors.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I guess the only thing that I have is that there's a really good job here articulating each one of the different facades. They look like three distinct structures, even though it's basically a row house. The only part of this that I don't really get, first of all, the copies here are very green, so everything looks green. So I mean, that's probably just a function of the copy. But the roofing material on lot 38 and 37 is identical. Is that correct?
Let me confirm. Yes, 38 and 39 both have driftwood.
Yeah, I think that's probably not a great choice. Only because everything else about the facade reads so differently that from an elevation standpoint, they become quite unified because both elements have gable fronts. Two gables on lot 38 and a single gable on 37. But I think that you probably would want to select a different roof color for 37 just because it would read like a different structure. It's stronger.
separate it.
It's a stronger
Sure.
separation, yeah. And I don't care really if you pick something that's more brown or you pick a gray like 39. I just think it needs to read differently than the adjacent structure.
Okay, I'll get with our colorist and have her select a different color for one of those two roofs, so there'll be three different colors.
Yeah, I don't really, I think it matters which one you pick to go which way.
Yeah, I think we have 5 or 6 to choose from.
Okay.
Are these the final exterior colors also?
Are you going to kind of be bringing them to us 3 at a time each?
These buildings are buildings of 3. We have a couple of buildings that will be buildings of 4. So
But you're going to come each time?
it'll probably be a building at a time.
Okay.
We're just
That's where
not.
that's
We
where
don't
the
want to jump
economy
that
is.
far ahead of
Yeah,
sales.
yeah.
So I like you guys. So.
You say that now.
Been good to us so far.
Well, let's hope we see you often.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. That would be the best thing that could happen.
Are we ready for a motion?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve, let's see, what is this actually called? V11003, is that this application?
Rayburn lot 37 through 39.
Okay, Rayburn lots 37 through 39 with one modification that the roof colors for the 3 units differ one from another.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very
That's
much.
approved, unanimous. The next item that we're going to look at is actually a courtesy review and it's for 15390 Little Stone Way, and it's to allow a house to encroach into the minimum side yard setback. And is there a representative? You just come forward and give your name and address, please.
Stand here.
Right at the podium, please.
My name is Jennifer Dickinson, and I represent the seller in this case, which is BB&T Bank. And my residence is 740 Owens Lake Road, Milton, Georgia.
Now, if this is existing, this is, the house exists, and they just are getting ready to sell and discovered, is that?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a foreclosed property, and the builder that did the construction made an error on one corner at its greatest point. It's 5.6 feet at its greatest point, but then it quickly tapers down so that there's no violation at all. And we had the property under contract, and the purchaser discovered the violation, and we lost the contract. So we're trying to remedy the problem so that we can go ahead and sell it and allow it to be a marketable property.
Okay. Now, the hardship variance will go to the Board of Appeals. All we're going to do is look at aesthetics if it's approved, and I don't know that
There's so much you can do.
there's anything that we would add, unless,
I'm actually a little shocked, just because that's a pretty skittish buyer.
Yeah.
Because I don't know there's ever been a situation where an existing situation like this makes something unsaleable, but that's
well, if you're doing the
due
title
diligence stuff.
research, and sometimes they'll
Unless they
find
get
that
it
it is a
cleared.
variance that
Yeah.
you have to get approval for.
These days, there's so much activity out there, especially on the bank-owned side, that we actually have had buyers move around if it's not perfect. So we decided, instead of waiting for that perfect buyer who could deal with it, we attempt to get it resolved and
Yeah,
move forward.
that makes sense. This is just a courtesy review, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't have any comments.
Well, first of all, I think that everybody just needs to recognize that we are an aesthetic body, and there's no aesthetic issue, so
Right.
good luck.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a courtesy review also for IQ Academy at 2864 Webb Road. If the applicant will come forward and give your name and address and then just an overview of what you're requesting, even though it's a courtesy review.
My name is Pega Firuzi. I live at 1403 North Park Lane, in Alpharetta. The property is 2865 Webb Road. Did you need my card? Okay. I'm the owner of IQ Academy. I've come before this board so many times. The problem that I have with this property is that it's very narrow and long. And on the east side of the property, the problem was that since day one, I've been trying to get the buffer reduced to 5 foot on the east and the west side of the property. On one side of the property that I was allowed to do that, it has septic system and the pump and drainage completely on the back of the property. So it doesn't do me any good. So the only way I could do my expansion was on the side of the property that I didn't get the buffer reduced, which is what I'm requesting right now.
Did you request for that buffer to be reduced before?
I did. Here's the problem. My engineer kind of goofed up and did not put the north and south correctly on the site plan, so I ended up getting the buffer reduced on the wrong side of the property.
Oh, wow.
And the only part that I can do my expansion, which I've already done, and I'm already $40,000 into that expense, and cannot do anything with it, is the site that I'm asking for right now.
Are there existing established trees that would be removed, or this is just for
No,
what is there already?
it's just, it is already exactly as you see it. It's there.
And I'm a little confused. What we're looking at here on this site plan shows an existing one-story structure that was already there, and the classrooms are your expansion, right?
The perpendicular building that you see to the existing building
Yeah.
is a trailer building.
Right, and it's called, on this plan, Classroom 1 and Classroom 2. Is that
Yes.
right? That's the expansion?
Yes. That's the
Okay.
expansion has already been done.
Okay, now that building is outside of the setback,
It's in 25-foot
right?
setback. I'm told that I need to plant 72 trees or 52 shrubs between that building and the border.
Property line.
The property line.
Okay.
And that's the area that I need to have, because right now it's a temporary building. And while it is a temporary building, I need to make sure that I get this cleared.
Okay, I understand that, but your expansion is not shown on this drawing, right?
It is.
No,
It-
that is the.
It is. It is. The expansion is already done.
And that's classroom 1 and classroom 2?
Yes.
So if I just, I'm not, sorry for being a little slow here. You need to use the buffer setback for something besides
I
vegetation.
need for playground for the children.
Oh, I see.
Either I use it now as a playground for the children, and eventually when we put the permanent building, then we will put it closer to the border, to closer to the property line.
Where is the
If I am
playground
able
now?
to.
Or do you have a playground now?
No, I haven't done anything, because since the expansion, I've been trying to get back in here to see if I can reduce the buffer.
Where do you want the playground? In front of existing,
Right behind the building.
Between the classroom and that
right here?
eastern property line?
There's about
Where,
10,
so where-
15 feet from the building to where we have the fence that I could use for the children.
So where would you plant the required trees if you don't plant them there?
If I don't,
Are you
well,
looking for a variance from that, any?
that's what I'm looking for, yes, for about 150 feet south of the original existing building.
Well, I think that, we do a courtesy review and we look at aesthetics, and the hardship you would have to prove to the Board of Appeals. And of course, aesthetically, vegetation, trees is going to be a better option within that buffer. I think for this particular case, you'll have to prove your hardship to the board that you cannot locate that playground elsewhere on the site.
Correct.
I really don't have any other comments on this. I don't know if any of the other board members, do you have any aesthetic comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Or it's just, it's unfortunate where you find yourself, because you had options before you start building, right? And so, I don't really see anything that goes to this body, but it's unfortunate that your professionals didn't help you out a little bit more, because it looked
Yeah.
like the topography of the side where your septic tank is and stuff looks just as viable as a area for a playground as the other side. Maybe we don't have enough information on the plan to tell, but as far as I can see, we don't really have any issue here. I think that clearly, from a aesthetic standpoint, buffers are better than not buffers.
Right.
So I guess that's the only comment I have.
Are there any other comments from the
I don't have
board
a
members? Okay. And this was a courtesy review, so your next step will be at the Board of Zoning Appeals. Thank you
Good
very
luck
much.
with them.
Thank
luck.
you.
Thank you. The next item that we have is a courtesy review for the Union Primitive Baptist Church at 335 Cox Road. And this is to increase the size of the fellowship hall from 2,060 square feet to 3,000 square feet. And if I could have someone come forward, I guess it's my understanding, and you can correct me, that the variances are for existing encroachments.
That is correct. My name is Todd Loy at 5280 Franklin Gold Mine Road in Cumming, Georgia. I am a member of Union Primitive Baptist Church on Cox Road. We're looking for approval of the expansion, about 30 by 31 of our fellowship building. The usage of the building, which is detached from the main church where we worship, is for lunch every other Sunday, the first and third Sundays, and then Bible studies on Wednesday nights. We want more room within the building. In looking at this project, we consulted with an architect, and one main purpose of doing this not only is for the expansion, but also it's important to us that we keep the look of the building to look like as if it was there when it was built originally and planned that way. Using the same brick on the front, same roofing color. Probably sample board with me. With the brick and the mortar, the roofing color is already metal roofing and white shredded siding, which is on the back. The front is brick. The north side is brick as well.
You were able to find the brick that was used, or they're just matching up something that's very similar?
On the front of the building, we're able to take off on the, where the expansion is going to be, we can take off the brick on the side, clean it up and use it on the front so it blends 100%
That's good.
correctly. Now, on the side, could be some variation because of the run of the brick at the current manufacturing.
It'll never match.
But, you know.
You can buy
I
it, you
know.
can buy it 2 weeks ago and buy it today, and it'll match.
Yeah, I know. But because of the, it's at a 90-degree turn in where you're coming in, it won't be as noticeable. But the front will be the exact same brick.
What is there in that space now? Parking or?
It is, there is parking there right now, gravel parking. It's a flat area to work with.
Okay.
So none of these, the large oaks that you have will be impacted? Those are,
There's no tree removal.
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
I think this is super straightforward. I mean, I think just to give you some advice on what we've seen, we've been successful with your next meeting will be that if you could get a letter from your adjacent property owner that they're okay with this,
Okay.
and if you could show them where the existing buildings are around it. So, for example, on this, there's a property next to you on Ebenezer Road, and there's a property next to you down next Stone Street from Cox.
Yes.
If you could show them on a site plan that your building is 200 feet away from any adjacent structure or anything like that, that'll be influential to their decision.
Okay.
If there's a building real tight to the property line, it'll be less, it'd be a harder decision to make. So, I mean, just the things that are going to be in your advantageous to your position are to show where everything else is around you and get letters from adjacent property owners that they're okay with it.
That would be two properties, yes.
I think it's good because you're matching what's there and you're just trying to blend in with what you have. So
We're also creating a 1-foot setback so it doesn't look like a long, straight building to
Right.
give it some dimension.
and break it up some.
Yes, and the window spacing is the same as the existing.
And the large trees at the front will stay, so that's good, and there's no tree clearing.
Even in the impact of the construction, there's no trees that are close to the site.
Good.
Hope it works out for you.
Huh.
Hope it comes together.
Yeah.
For you.
Thank you very much. Your next step will be at the, you're actually, I guess it's city council, Angela, or is this?
BZA.
That's Board of Zone.
Sorry, this is
This looks like a use
a
permit.
use permit, so yes.
Yeah,
city council.
it'll be city council. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
The next item that we have is a courtesy review, and this is on Highway 9, Ashton, Atlanta residential, and this is to rezone from C2 community business to townhouse residential. Downsizing?
Yeah.
No. This impacts. Can you go ahead and state your name for the record?
Pete Hendricks, practice law at 6085 Lake Forest Drive in Sandy Springs. The application involves a 8.261 acre tract of land on Highway 9 directly across the street from the Crooked Creek subdivision. The request is to go from an existing C1 zoning to TR. We've got TR on either side of us, although we're coming in at a much softer density than the TR that's zoned on either side of us. We're asking for 43 lots, which gives us a density of 5.21 units to the acre. We've got 7.87 on one side and 8.21 on the other side. The application is for Ashton Woods. Mike Busher, who is Vice President Land Acquisition for Ashton Woods, is here, and he will walk you through the schematic of the site plan, together with what, at this point in time, we've worked up to be elevations of the full spectrum selection of housing that will be offered within the development. It is all single-family detached.
Attached.
So it's Mike Busher, and I work with Ashton Woods.
And I'd be happy just to open it up to questions if that's the right way to proceed.
You indicated you were going to show us some elevations and some
Sure,
design
I'm
stuff.
happy to. And I've
Let's
got-
do that first.
I've got a small version of that I'll hand out. Very easier to pass along
Thank you.
than I can reference the larger one here.
Let me ask you, Mike, this is all, you said it's single-family detached, but you're
Detached.
asking for TR, is that so you can have the density? Or the lot sizes, I guess?
It is.
Okay.
It largely started from the fact that it was TR around us. We looked at it originally maybe as a townhome
I'm
property.
sorry, you said detached or attached?
It's
Detached.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a detached neighborhood.
Wow.
And when you're looking at this schematic and as it gets passed around, the way to view this, obviously, is we have 4 plans that we have conceived of. They're not built anywhere right now. They're actually being produced now, but they're borrowed from their version, let's say 2.0 of what we built in Crooked Creek across the street. We built a pod of homes in Crooked Creek that adjoin this property. So not all of Crooked Creek, but in a pod. This I would call version 2.0. But as you look left to right, there is, for example, the Glenwood A plan all the way to the Glenwood F plan. And obviously you can see the differences in the architecture as you go through. A being perhaps less rich than F, and we anticipate obviously to price them accordingly. But it will give us what we hope is a pretty diverse mix for roughly 40 home sites, 43 home sites, to be able to offer this mix of plans. We think will be sufficient for our buyers. Obviously, we have our own monotony codes that we employ that if kind of a star pattern. So if someone were to purchase a lot on lot 3, for example, if they picked a Glenwood F, we would not allow them to build a Glenwood F on either side or 3 across the street. So there's some regulations that we do internally because we think it's good business practice. And size of the homes here, we're going to be in that 2,500 to 3,200 square foot range.
Price points?
And we hope we'll push into the 3s.
So high 2s, low 3s-ish.
What was the density of Ashton Woods that you would be across the street from? Do you know what that was
It was a
developed?
PUD, and I would say it's complementary. Without speaking out of turn, it was a Fulton County zoning, but it was about 4.5, I believe.
So are these homes a little smaller or the same size?
Actually, a little larger.
A little larger?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're a little larger square footage. We've actually figured out a way, we hope, to listen to what we hear on the sales side, which is people want the square footage, but they don't need all of the inefficiency necessarily of what I call a wider front home. So this is a compromise between that. So on a 38 to 40 foot wide home, you're able to get almost 3,000 square feet on average, which is pretty good.
I see that you have the connector street, I guess for future connection on the west.
Right. And
So
that
the-
property is zone TR today.
Okay, but it's not developed.
It is not.
And then on the, I guess it's Wyndham Homeowners Association, how is that developed? It says TR zoning, is it completed?
Yeah, that's Beezer's townhome property.
Okay,
Yep. And this is an asset just for background. It's a BB&T owned asset. It's a foreclosed asset. It's part of the reason why I stayed on top of it. It was sort of a strange set of circumstances that led us to here, but effectively the property owner just abandoned it, and it's been sitting in its current state with some trash on it that I know the bank is trying to get removed for quite a while. So there wasn't the movement for commercial in this area, and the bank kind of held on. And then I approached them and said, "What if we could do something different in a residential state?" And they agreed. And
well, if they have the residential on each side, but
Okay.
that'll, guess, be for the city council to decide. But if there's no way to connect to the I guess the Wyndham.
no, and you wouldn't. I don't think
Completed.
you'd want to.
Yeah,
Topo,
it's a different product.
yeah, it changes anyway quite a bit.
That's a multi-level development.
Right. Yeah, a lot of 3-story, I think it's all 3-story townhomes.
Yeah.
Are there two homes here now on this property?
There are not, no.
No, okay.
That may be the property to the south that you're thinking of. There's really nothing on this site other than some trash.
Okay.
This is a courtesy review, right?
Yes.
So I've only been out here a couple of years from Portland, Oregon, where this kind of development was super common. We have 3,000 square foot houses on 2,800 square foot lots.
Okay.
And so the idea of the density of this is pretty much what I was used to seeing and being involved with. What I guess we would hope to do, and what has been most effective on those kinds of development that I've been familiar with, is that there's going to be a need to deal with infrastructure issues in a more serious way than other developments of similar scale. For example, you probably are going to need to have a legitimate street tree on every lot.
We would do that as part of our house plan.
Right, that's going to be something we'd look for in the future.
Okay.
We're going to look at light fixtures and stuff to make sure that they're an appropriate scale, and because the density of these things are going to need to be probably a little closer together and probably a little smaller.
Okay.
Rather than a 26-foot high fixture, we're looking lots shorter than that. You have a really high level of quality finishes across the street as far as the fencing is concerned. So all the way along the Highway 9, we don't want to see a dog-eared privacy fence.
Privacy fence.
You know?
No, we're thinking the same thing.
Right.
There.
These are just kind of stuff that's flying
Yeah.
out of our. Also, the way you deal with end caps. So if you have example, those two lots there, 32 and 43, since they're both facing in opposite directions, what you'll have between them is a section of fence. How those areas are dealt with are going to be critical. Also, like lot number 31, where that's an area where you might have two sections of fence or whatever. The entry arrival sequence is going to be critical. How you deal with some of these park refinements, and that the infrastructure issues are really going to be refined. The structures look fine. I mean, the only other thing I would have added, you already brought up, was that you need to try to have some sort of adjacency, matrix, which says that you're not going to have similar colors of materials or exact designs in two different places.
We'll also, we've gotten a little smarter, I think, over time about using our covenants. We'll limit this to a aluminum or black steel fence for our residents, so there'll only be one type of fence that we'll allow.
Okay.
That typically helps the overall look, as opposed to I agree. Sometimes you get the privacy next to the aluminum, and it just starts to look a little bit odd. We've begun to go into neighborhoods and said, what's appropriate with this theme, and at least for the time that we're the declarant, which is typically until we're done with sales.
Right.
We limit it to one fence.
Right.
And that's probably the same theme that we'll cover on the streetscapes. I agree with you. It's a big part of this.
The only other thing I would take a look at is probably already in your matrix anyway, is that you look like with some of these richer designs, like your Glenwood F and your Melrose F and your Whitmore F, they all have at least that same similar kind of dry stack or Coronado stone or something like that. And what you described is that a Glenwood F could be next to a Whitmore F because they're not the same floor plan.
Correct.
But if those two structures employed the same color stone,
That's right.
that would be.
That's right. No, and we look at
There's
colors as
some
well.
sort of a way to work that in, that even if there are different areas, that you're not allowed to use the exact same color. Otherwise, it's going to start to look really
No, that's a good catch.
homogeneous.
And we're finding a lot of people will gravitate more towards the earth tone, so it becomes an issue, but we'll look
Right.
at that too. Yep.
Is it beige, or beige?
Yeah,
Right.
no, it's right.
So that would be my only thing that I'd come up with. Otherwise, I think that actually it sounds like something that's actually kind of needed. And I think that candidly, I would prefer to see this kind of a development rather than what you see on either side anyway. This is pretty dang dense. So I think this is actually going to become a little bit nicer.
And Pete just whispered in my ear, just as a reminder to me, but we're at about a 5,000 square foot lot minimum right now. So, the day that it will be hopefully enough that it's not an insult yard. It's an adequate amount of space, but I agree with you. What we are seeing, we're selling in different parts right now of North Fulton, and fortunately doing pretty well. But at Kendricks Park, which is a community that's, I would say, close in look and feel to this, though the product's going to be different. That's at the almost the intersection of Windward and McGinnis Ferry, but similar lot size, and we're at a transaction price there of right around $330 to $340. But
This is going to get really interesting when that new high school comes online.
yeah, we're hearing people saying we can't find certainly new housing in the twos in Milton. We can't find it, and certainly not of a quality. And then if it is, it's very hard to find it with some square footage. I think we'll be able to hit all those hot buttons with this deal.
Well, let me ask, Mike, there was no chance on the front for any specimen trees. I see only one identified, and it says unhealthy. So
There really is only one, and it's
Really?
in rough shape. We're going to have to do a lot of planning on that front,
Yeah.
For the arrival, but there really isn't much there. The
And I
site
think-
actually is almost stripped.
I think the front, is going to be the most important thing. You're across from Crooked Creek. They have a wonderful frontage along with decorative fencing. No wood fencing. You'd have to use columns with wrought iron or some type of decorative fencing with heavy landscaping, which includes just a mix of evergreens. As to whether the zoning is appropriate, we'll let the city council look at that and the planners, because they'll have to look at certain things as to whether, a TR zoning is really for detached housing, but that's something that Pete can handle at the city council meeting. Or it may be something that, if it's a different zoning category, maybe Milton doesn't have it, so that's probably why you're looking for the TR, but.
Is the lawn maintenance going to be performed by the homeowners association? Is everybody going to be in their own in there, or what?
It probably makes sense to. We're going to have to look at the people are obviously focusing on HOA costs more than ever, and that adds somewhere between $150 and $200 a quarter in some cases for lawn maintenance. It might make sense to do it though for what this community is, but the struggle we have is it's expensive enough to maintain just the small amount of common area that's there. If you start adding that into it, can factor into someone's monthly payment quite a bit. So we'll look at it. We'll definitely look at it.
I guess the only other thing I would have to say is you got a complicated little transportation situation here. You have no space for visitor parking unless you do it on site. So you're going to have to take a look at tandem parking or parking in people's driveways, because right now on a 24-foot wide right-of-way or even paved surface between curbs, that's 2 travel lanes, but there's not enough room to be able to have a parking area and a travel lane. So that's going to be complicated. The other thing is that if I were you, I would push for some sort of traffic controls, because you're going to have a hard time getting people in and out of this thing. Because that section of roadway, I travel it pretty routinely.
Yeah.
It's a pretty busy street.
It is. I live near there myself, and
I don't know what you could possibly put in there. They're not going to give you a light. You wouldn't
Yeah.
want it. It's too expensive.
Yeah, we did talk to the DOT at the start of the project. It was their recommendation of what led us into this decel lane with that entry point.
Well, your decel lane will help in, but your exit maneuver is still very complicated. Really, your best shot is just to turn right. And a lot of people, I guess that's the way people, you go to McFarland that way to get to 9 or 400.
Yeah.
So
You're kind of in that middle spot anyway in that location where I think people will choose either. But I agree, it's something Wyndham deals with as well.
Is your main entrance going to be, is it north of Crooked Creek's
It is.
entrance? Okay.
well, I mean, it's essentially east.
It's east of it. You're
Because
right.
the plan is north. Here's Crooked Creek's entrance right here.
Yeah.
So it's just, less than 1,000 feet, looks like, to the east. Which
Well,
at
it's
highway
directly across the
speeds,
street.
not that far.
I'm sorry.
I was
No, the
talking
development
Okay.
is.
Yeah. But as far as aesthetics are concerned,
Aesthetically,
it looks like,
the front is what
Yeah.
we're going to be concerned about.
mostly.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't think that we'll see the individual units come back since they're detached. That wouldn't come back to this board, unless, of course, it was directed for some reason by the council.
Okay.
But good luck and thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Nice to see you, Kathy.
Thank you. Would you like these back? Would these come in handy for you? Okay. All right. Put them off. Okay.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, that little boy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Did you want to say something, Mr. Reeves?
Usually it's best.
That's what I was thinking then.
Church, if you already went through it.
Yes.
Any questions?
No, and it was a courtesy review and it was matching what was there. They weren't disturbing the specimens, so it was we were okay.
I planned it just that way.
Thank you.
Now, my great aunt passed, so I had to run over to the oldest citizen of Golden County. She would have been 109 when she
Wow. Well, she had lived a full life. You can definitely say that.
Yeah. We should all be so lucky.
Exactly. All right, thank you. The only other business that we had was the election of officers, and I think we probably should wait till we. It's up to the board if they want to go ahead with the election with the 4 members here.
Well, do you know what's going to
We have 6 members
You know what's going to happen
still.
with Terry? Or?
He's resigned.
Terry has
somebody-
resigned.
They're going to name a new, obviously.
Well, that's up to us.
No, I
We can
mean-
do that now, or we can
Is that
wait.
exactly what we're doing, or are we re-nominating ourselves for another term as well?
Well, we don't
No,
have a
just-
chairman, so we have to nominate a chairman. Well, we have to do a chairman and a vice chairman.
Right.
We
I don't
can-
think we renominate ourselves for additional terms. I think that's from the city council, right?
Yeah. Now, you can nominate yourself for the chairman.
No, you can stay on as long as your council person is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the pleasure of the board? Do we want to proceed with the elections tonight?
I think we should wait till we have
Or
a full board.
We have 2 other members that aren't here.
Well, they may not be here next meeting either, but we should probably reach out to them and find out what they think.
Yeah, I think we should. All right, so let's,
Staff
if I
just
can
send
get
an
a motion
email,
to defer
start a
that.
little ping pong match between all of us. We can kind of discuss that.
So is everybody in favor of deferring that,
Yes.
the elections? All right, I am too. All right, then that is, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.